My turn. Congratulations to all of you on your confirmations. Good news. I've only got time to ask Governor Bowman a question. One thing I wanted to clear up, I believe the senator from Massachusetts attacked you for not immediately initiating Fed stress tests following the announcement of President Trump's tariff strategy. I just want a clarification here. Did your predecessor, Vice Chair Barr, launch a Fed stress test when SVB failed?
No, sir, he did not.
Did he launch a stress test when inflation reached 40-year highs?
No.
Yeah. Even if the Fed regularly did this, wouldn't it be that vice chair that Senator Warren should have directed the questions towards?
What's up, patriots? Welcome back to Right View Nation, where common sense, truth, and unapologetic American values come first. If you're tired of the woke nonsense, of big government failures being swept under the rug, and if you're someone who believes that accountability and fiscal sanity still matter in this country, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into some pure gold from Capitol Hill. Senator Thom Tillis, God bless him, absolutely grills one of Biden's Federal Reserve nominees, Governor Michelle Bowman, on what really went wrong with the Silicon Valley Bank collapse and how our financial regulators keep failing us over and over again. And let me tell you, this isn't just some stuffy finance talk. This is about your money, your community, and the very system we rely on to keep our economy from going off the rails. So buckle up, folks. We're about to get into it.
The person who was in the role at the time?
That might be more appropriate, yes.
Okay, thank you. You got community banks, regional banks, large foreign banks, and GSIBs, and 2,300 plus bank examiners crawling around their organizations every day. Want to talk a little bit about trends. Are you aware of instances when Fed supervision failed to focus on glaring core prudential risk?
Yes.
Give me an example.
Silicon Valley Bank.
Are you aware of instances when Fed supervision was encouraged to focus on ancillary issues that distracted from assessing core prudential risk?
Yes.
Give me an example.
I think we've seen reports of that throughout our supervision and regulation reports that we publish twice a year.
Are you aware of instances when Fed examiners changed supervisory expectations even within the course of an ongoing examination?
I have heard accountings of this, yes.
I'd like maybe for the record, if we can point out some glaring examples, that would be helpful for the committee. Do you believe the Fed has always adequately considered the distinct differences between the four separate supervisory strata, the banks that I was talking about, when crafting regulatory and supervisory requirements?
I think over the last year or a few years, we have strayed from the statutory responsibility of regulatory tailoring, and what I'd like to refocus our regulatory activities on is instilling more usage of regulatory tailoring that's appropriate to the size, the risk, the business model, and the institution that we're looking to apply regulation to.
Do you believe the Fed training of examiners has always armed staff to adequately carry out core prudential risk supervisory duties?
I look forward, if I'm confirmed, to having a better understanding of how prepared our examiners are to ensure that we can identify the risks within the system.
Is it fair to say that some of the problems that were encountered with the examination of Silicon Valley Bank may have related to improper training and execution?
I think that's a possibility, but I'd like to do an independent third-party review that would help us identify some of the issues that we should be identifying and.
That's a perfect answer. I'm looking back only to be instructed on how to better perform in the future, and that's exactly how we should do it. There's a lot of examiners out there that are doing a good job. They're following the rules. There are some others that either need training or re-education. So to the examiners out there, I know that many of them do a good job. I speak with a lot of banks. I did back when I was advising banks in the private sector. So, but we've got to up the game, and I think some of that comes through training and more consistent examination processes. I came in on the part of Senator Kennedy's comments, and I think that people may need to understand that to the extent that we're looking at Basel is to give some certainty on what we are or not going to do.
Correct.
And so people should not. I was completely offended and totally thrilled when Barr failed to get Basel III endgame done. And he was rushing. So let me just say that was a happy day when it was clear he wasn't going to be successful. But we do need to look at it. We need to position it. We need to give certainty to the banks and the regulated entities. And I do believe, so Basel, that's just dealing with Basel. Because he referred to CCAR and stress testing. I, for one, think CCAR and stress testing are broken. I believe that, unless you're a partner at Price Waterhouse, I mean, we were paid enormous sums of money to make sure that the banks were compliant with regulations that were at the risk of money that they could spend in the communities or capital that could flow. They're having to pay consultants to make sure they're compliant. There's got to be a better way to identify the specific risk without going through 100,000 pages. So CCAR and stress test is broken. And as you move forward, are you going to see opportunities to actually reduce the cost and maintain the outcomes that we need to understand any systemic risk that we have in our banking system?
Senator, yes. And first, let me address the stress testing observations that you've made. I agree on many levels with the observations that you have. I think we are taking a closer look at the appropriateness of the way the stress tests have been implemented, and we'll be making some conclusions about that going forward. So I look forward to improving that process.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you. I look forward to supporting your confirmations. On behalf of the chair, Senator Cortez Masto.
All right, first off, notice the professionalism from Senator Tillis. He's respectful, but laser-focused. No political theater, just facts and accountability. He starts by calling out something a lot of us on the right have been asking for years: where was the Fed when the warning signs were flashing red? He asks straight up, did Vice Chair Barr, under Biden's watch, even launch a stress test when SVB collapsed? Nope. Did he launch one when inflation was ripping through the roof, the worst we've seen in 40 freaking years? Also nope. Now here's the kicker: the left, led by Senator Elizabeth Warren and her woke brigade, tried to throw Bowman under the bus. But Tillis rightly points out, she wasn't even in charge. That mess was on Barr, one of their own. But see, they don't want to hold their own people accountable, they want to create a scapegoat. This is classic left-wing deflection, folks. They break the system, then blame someone else for not fixing it fast enough. Bowman's answer? Yes. And she flat out admits Silicon Valley Bank is a textbook example of the Fed dropping the ball. Think about that. This was a woke, mismanaged California bank that catered to tech elites, had terrible risk controls, and guess what? The regulators were too busy chasing diversity scores and climate metrics to actually supervise financial risk. This is exactly what we've been warning about. The real threats to our economy are being ignored because the institutions meant to protect us are too distracted by leftist political pet projects. Bowman even admits it, there were distractions. Fed supervision was focused on ancillary issues, not the actual risks that tanked SVB. Translation? They were chasing ESG scores instead of doing their damn job. Then comes another bombshell: Bowman suggests the Fed's own examiners might not be trained properly. That's right. We've got thousands of bank examiners crawling through financial institutions, and some of them apparently have no clue what they're doing. How did we get here? Because for years now, our institutions have prioritized DEI hiring, politics, and bureaucracy over merit and competence. Tillis nails it again. He says some examiners are doing a great job, and I agree. There are patriots in the system. But we have to admit, some people are in over their heads, and it's costing this country real money and real stability. Bowman brings up another important point here: regulatory tailoring. That means regulations shouldn't be one size fits all. A tiny community bank in rural North Carolina shouldn't be treated the same as JP Morgan or a foreign megabank. Amen. That's the conservative principle of localized control, proportional oversight, and respect for business diversity. We don't need more red tape crushing our local banks. We need smart oversight that recognizes risk and scale. Now here's where I was fist pumping. Tillis straight up calls the stress testing and CCR process broken. And you know what? He's absolutely right. These stress tests have become bloated, bureaucratic messes. They don't identify real risk. Instead, they enrich consultants and lobbyists while choking banks with 100,000 pages of compliance. Do you realize how much capital is wasted paying big firms just to comply with arbitrary rules? That's money that could be going into small business loans, community development, or interest for your savings. This is how big government kills productivity, folks. It's a leech on innovation and growth. So let's connect the dots. The Fed ignored core risk at SVB. Their supervision was distracted by woke nonsense. The training was subpar. The rules were bloated and inconsistent. And the left wants to point fingers at anyone but themselves. Tillis, like a true conservative leader, is cutting through the noise and demanding accountability. And Bowman, to her credit, seems to be acknowledging what went wrong, and expressing a willingness to fix it. That's something. But let me be clear, patriots, we can't fix this until we root out the ideological rot in our financial system. The economy doesn't need more politics, it needs competence, risk management, and freedom from Washington meddling. So what do you think, folks? Is the Fed broken beyond repair? Is this just the beginning of more financial failures to come? Smash that like button if you're tired of the lies. Drop a comment below, I want to hear from you. And of course, hit subscribe to stay tuned to Right View Nation, where we bring you the truth they don't want you to hear. Until next time, stay informed, stay bold, and stay free.